first studio guest, in fact, and it's hello to the Caroline Movement's Keith Archer. Hello, Keith.
Hello there.
Thanks for coming along today. Now, we've been talking in the last couple of programmes about an event which is being organised in August of this year by the Caroline Movement. It's called Project Galexy, and I believe you're one of the people involved with this little operation.
Yep, that's right. We're going to be putting a radio station together in August to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Mebo Act.
Right, now, this is an unusual station in that, of course, it is offshore. It'll be floating around, and I know that you've had some involvement with the technical aspects of the proposals for that project. But before we go into that side of things, let me cast the history net back a little bit, because, of course, Project Galexy goes back a lot further than just this particular year, doesn't it? The idea is actually one that's been around for a while. Tell us a little bit about how that idea came about.
I think the idea came about in 1981, if I remember rightly. I think it was about that year.
The same year that this programme actually began, if I remember rightly as well, yeah?
That's right, yes. Shows how long I've been involved in the Caroline Movement, I suppose. The whole idea at first was when the old radio ship Galexy, which used to be the old Radio London vessel, was still in Kiel, wasn't it?
That's Germany? Right, Kiel in northern Germany, that's right, yeah. Actually, perhaps we better explain how it got there, because, of course, there may be people listening to this programme who listened to Radio London in the 60s, and after the station closed down in 1967 had no idea what happened to the vessel. So how did it end up in Kiel, then?
Well, she was sold, and I think the whole idea at first was for Germany to have its first offshore radio station, which I believe was going to be started in 1969, if I remember rightly, if my history is correct. But the Germans brought out their own Marine Offences Act type of law, and the whole idea was shelved, or scrapped even. But in the early days, the boat was just moored up, and then...
I believe that amongst the people involved with that proposal were two gentlemen, two Swiss businessmen, weren't they? And they came into the...
Bollier, better known as Mebo Limited, and they looked further afield and thought that an offshore radio station would be a good idea, and set about starting up their own radio station. That's how Radio North Sea International came about.
Indeed, of course, from the first from the Mebo 1, or the idea was the Mebo 1, then on to the Mebo 2, which I'm sure many of our listeners will remember, particularly those in the Benelux countries. So once they had moved away from their ideas with the Galexy in Kiel, what actually happened to her? Did she just stay in Kiel then?
Yes, she was just left in Kiel in the old submarine pens and forgotten about, basically, and the government there saved the vessel from sinking on a couple of occasions.
What sort of condition was she in at this time then?
She was in very good condition, actually. She was an old minesweeper used in the Second World War, and she had a lot of history, and she was just basically left there to rot. And when the intake valves went again, the authorities...
Yes, I understand one of the, I believe it was one of the pipes that would normally serve the ship's systems actually broke away, and she filled up with water, and there became a point at which I think people just didn't know who was behind the vessel, and they after having pumped her out so many times, decided enough was enough, and they just let it rot and go down. And I've seen photographs of her where she'd effectively sat in the submarine pens to one side, gradually rotting away for many years. So, I mean, how did the Caroline Movement get involved? Where did their sort of role in this come in then?
Well, I thought it'd be an idea to see if they could rescue the ship, because obviously it had quite a lot of offshore history, etc. And they set about trying to find who the owners were, etc., and got in contact with the government, and we set up a fund. And that's how Project Galexy came around. Was trying to get people's interests into setting up some money to try and raise the vessel and have a sorted out dry docked, etc.
I see. So Project Galexy, in fact, was originally for the original Galexy, then.
That's correct, yes.
The well-known radio ship. So
one good thing that was about the Galexy, still had RL on the funnel.
Oh yes, the old Radio London logo, yeah.
Yes, and 266 there as well. Also still had the radio mast on there, which would have been very good if we could have brought it back over and made it into a museum, but unfortunately just wasn't to be.
What about the equipment on board, things like the transmitters and the studio equipment and such like?
The transmitters were still on board, even though in a very poor state, but the studio equipment was taken a long time ago. But you could still see the rooms where the studios used to be. and I believe one of the generators was still on board as well. But,
yes, certainly I've seen photographs of it, because then, unfortunately, the project didn't succeed, because I think I'm right in saying that the German authorities didn't seem to want to see this vessel leave, and it has been said in actual fact that their belief that the vessel should stay put wasn't actually quite so much inclined towards the offshore radio idea, but more because it was formerly an American minesweeper. Is that not right?
I believe so. That's what the story goes. They had no intention of the vessel leaving. The only place where they expected that boat to go was the scrapyard. There was
a gentleman, I think, a director of the organisation, which was a German state shipping organisation, Halswerft Deutsche Werft AG, I think it was called.
I'm glad you can pronounce that.
And this chap, I think his name was Dr. Ralph Rosenkrantz, who seemed to have a definite desire for the vessel to stay where it was, because all attempts to talk to the various directors of the organisation and the town council in Kiel and such like came across a brick wall, and it always ended up with Dr. Rosenkrantz, and the project finally floundered, and in fact I think a couple of years later the Galaxy was finally destroyed, was it not?
Yes, she was lifted out of the water and put on the quayside and cut up. Yes, it was very unfortunate.
Terribly sad. The amount of money spent on actually doing that, just goes to show that it would have been possible to have preserved the vessel if various people had been happy about that. I know that when the vessel was raised from the water and sort of dried out before she was cut up, it was possible to have a look over her, and it was amazing to find just what was still on board, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
In fact, I think your organisation, the Caroline Moon, don't they have sort of souvenirs and photographs and such like, if anybody's interested to find out about it?
Yes, they do, and we have actual photographs of the Galaxy in Kiel, West Germany, floundered at an angle. And it's quite funny, actually. It looks so that the whole buildings are at an angle. They actually are, because they're all stuck in the water. And I have actually seen photographs, but I haven't seen them for a while, of the Galaxy actually being cut up.
Well, Keith, I must admit, I didn't realise there was so much to talk about in connection with the old Galaxy, so it's been very interesting talking to you. Perhaps you'd be good enough. We're running out of time, actually, today. Would you be good enough to come back and talk to us again tomorrow?
Certainly, because we'll.
All right, and we'll go into some more detail about Project Galaxy itself. So if you'd like to find out more about the Caroline Movement's operation, we'll see you again tomorrow. That's it for a tender trip again today, here via Euronet. Thanks for listening in. And number, once again, if you'd like to ring us with any questions, is 0426 910 390. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
And you can hear Ian Johnston's Tender Trip every Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday at 5:30 in the evening, British time, and then again at 1:45 in the wee small hours, and then 10 o'clock in the morning. That's right here on Euronet, of course.
Euronet on the Astra satellite with Sky Sports at 7.56 megahertz.
Billy J. Kramer and the Decoders, and Bad to Me. You're on Offshore Radio, 1584 kilohertz, 189 meters in the medium wave band.